And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel. Today we're taking a look at one of the most unique games I've ever played, and that is Wartime. Now, when I heard about Wartime, I heard about it on a podcast a long time ago, and someone said this game was amazing, and I said, wow, I mean, we're talking years ago. So I hunted it down. It wasn't in print. I found the designer, and I had him send me a copy, and we took a look at it. We actually considered it for the Dice Tower Essential line. Obviously, it's not printed from the Dice Tower Essential line. It's printed from WizKids. Now, why was that so? Well, I think my review will explain it, but I'll start out by saying I really did like the game. It's such a unique concept. Here's how it plays. So you have this big giant board that you're going to be playing on, and what you'll do is players are going to choose from the battle book. This isn't the rule book, but it will show you some sort of setup that you're going to put on the board. It will show you what units you'll have, what terrain tiles go on the board, if you get any cards that you will have for your team to have. And so players are going to set this up. Now the terrain tiles are here, and there's double-sided terrain tiles, so maybe you're building a castle wall for some reason, or maybe you have a forest on the board. But more importantly, we have units. So there's a bunch of discs included in this game, but there are several units. So we're going to take a closer look at some of the units in this game. These aren't all the units, but these are a few of the units that are included. So here we have a knight, a crossbow, a catapult, a man-at-arms, a wizard. Those are all humans, and I brought in a few of the orcs teams. We have an orc, a giant, and a wolf rider. Now, each of these is basically on this plastic piece like this, and they have a certain number of health. There's a small number in the middle, so let's take a closer look at the man-at-arms. So you can see here that he has a little 5 here. That means you're going to put 5 chips. That's how much health the man-at-arms has. The man-at-arms also is going to do damage to other players, and this is how much damage they do from how many spaces away. So if he's adjacent, he'll do 4 damage. He has no ranged attack at all, while the knight will do 3 damage next to someone or 1 space away from somebody. The catapult down here will do no damage if you're, well, 1 damage if you're next to it. I guess the guys are stabbing you with their knives. And then 2 spaces away, they do 2, and 3 spaces away, they'll do 3 damage. Each of these also has a green number on it. That's how far that person is going to move. So what you're going to do in this game, let's pretend here, a small thing, there's some orc units, and here I have my good guy units. Each player is going to have a set of timers. That 2 of them, 1 is 30 seconds, 2 are 60 seconds, and 1 is 90 seconds. You also have a 30-second blue timer. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So we say go, okay, and we're going, and so I decide I'm going to move my wizard. He can move 3 spaces, so I go 1, 2, I stop him, and then I put a 30-second timer next to him. Until that timer runs out, I can't use that wizard. Meanwhile, the catapult, I'm going to have the catapult shoot. So I think the catapult's pretty good one to shoot, so I'm going to use one of my 60-second timers for that. He shoots, it's 3 spaces away, he does 3 damage, I'm saying 3 damage to the wolf rider. I take 3 of the wolf rider chips off, wolf rider's almost dead. Then let's see, I got another 90-second timer. I got a 90-second timer, so I'll move my knight here. I'm going to use a charge with my knight, which lets my knight charge and do 2 damage. So it's going to hit the giant for 2 damage. And then I'm going to use this 60-second here in my crossbowman, who's going to shoot. Oh, he can't shoot that far, so I'm just going to have him move up. Now, I can't touch these timers till they've run out, but this 30-second timer's out. So I could use it on the same guy, I could use it on somebody else. I can't use it on someone who has a timer, so I might use it on the knight here, and the knight's going to do 3 more damage to the giant. Now, of course, I'm doing all this with the obvious, my opponent could be playing that, and by the way, I just realized I'm using the orc timers for the yellow team. There's yellow timers for that team, but be what it may. They're also going to be moving, and so you're doing this stuff simultaneously. There's also cards that you might have. There's standard action cards, which you can play in your turn, depending on what units you have. There are also spell actions that you can take, wizard spells, and when you cast a wizard spell, you're going to have to put your 30-second timer on that before you can cast another spell. So the whole game is about just a real-time fighting game, trying to move around as quickly as you can. Obviously, putting a 90-second timer on someone's going to lock them up for a while. 30-second timer lets someone move more quickly, but you only have 1 of those. And then you got 2-minute timers. And so you have 4 units that you're moving at any given point in time. As soon as these timers run out, you're going over here, and all damage is done in real time. There's not a lot of complications to the game. There's going to be, some disadvantages or benefits to the terrain, so you would probably like this one blocks line of sight. You can see that it messes with damage when on it, and it costs more movement to go into it. You can have actually terrain. You can just put some discs on a tile, like this here would be an altar, or it might have a fire on the table. There's even zombies that might show up. There's all sorts of units from each of the sides. I already showed you some. There's a shaman, there's an abomination here, which is kind of like the knight, and the sides are pretty well balanced. And like I said, there's lots of different scenarios. But essentially what I just showed you is how the game plays. So the sand timers are fine. I mean, I know some people are going to go measure them up right now. I noticed that sometimes they're a few seconds off, but they seem to come pretty close to the times that are listed on them. The discs are pretty nice. They slide right onto these plastic things pretty easily. The only problem with these discs are keeping them all organized. You keep each disc in its own bag. That's probably the best way to do it, but then you'll have a lot of bags, but you just have to keep them all organized. But the board itself is a little bland. The terrain is a little bland. The cards themselves are decent quality, but they're really bland. I mean, flanking attack, would it have killed them to put some kind of cool artwork in the background? I mean, all these attacks are neat, and it's nice that you have them. Oh, a tail sweep from the Black Dragon, advancing, mounted charge, quake, fireball. That's all cool stuff, but there's very few pictures in this game, so you have to kind of, like this is a giant here, but it's kind of hard to see that it's a giant. You actually just have to imagine that. So overall, I mean, you're getting a lot of discs in this game, and the game is very heavy. There's a lot of pieces inside. I would say the components are decent. I should say, after looking at the pieces, the cover is pretty cool for this game. All right, but I mean, it's humans versus orcs. Big surprise there. Okay, so this game is definitely going to appeal to a certain subset of gamers. And that's the main reason why I didn't put it in Dice Tower Essentials, is because I felt that the subset was too small for this game to do that well. Now, I fit in that subset. This is pretty fun for me. And I have other friends who also like it. But you have to like a lot of things. You have to kind of like a war game, and you definitely have to like real time. Because this is a game where somebody who can think faster and move the timers faster is going to have a good advantage. There's a little bit of tactical maneuvering in this game, but this is a real-time war game. There isn't many of those. And you're flipping timers and moving this piece here, and then okay, I got a few seconds, all my timers are running, but that 30-second timer runs pretty quickly. And you're like, okay, I got 30 seconds. No, my 90-second timer ran out. All right, now I got to do that. Oh, the 30 seconds back out. There goes the 60s. And it's really intriguing, right? And you don't have a ton of units. 7 or 8 units per side of battle, and that's good. That keeps your brain from frying. But the first time you play this, if you play against someone who's experienced, you're going to be like, I'm done. And also, because when you hit somebody, you take chips off their character and throw them, some people could find that annoying. It's like, you're like, what? You just killed my character. And even when a character's dead, you got to take the sand timer off and put it next to the board and let it run out. So it's neat. Now, it's not a visual feast to the eyes. It really isn't. The timers are cool. People will stop by and look at it. But there's a lot of timer games out there. There's timer Euro games, and there's even a timer abstract game called Tamsk. But this one here is a timer war game, so you have the stacks. Now, I really like the fact that those discs come off those plastic things very easily. They have the statistics on them. There's very few special abilities. There's charge, I mentioned, and there's a few minor things, and the cards add complexity. But other than that, it's move. This guy moves quickly. This guy can shoot farther distance away. I gotta be careful, let you come to me. There's some really cool things, and the scenarios are fairly basic. Kill everyone, get a checkpoint. And that's good, because the game is all about moving those timers and speed and such. And this one I had a hard time struggling with to say. It's definitely a game that I approve of. I don't normally talk about ratings in my things, but I think I have to hear this because it sounds a little over the board. But this one's a 7 out of 10. And for me, that's really good. And there's some people that say, you want to play Wartime? I'm like, yes, I will. But I think a vast majority of gamers actually would not fall into this category. War gamers usually want to sit and think. They don't want to play a speed game. And people who like speed games aren't necessarily interested in orcs versus humans. And the fact that the combat is deterministic is going to throw some people off. But this game, while it might really frustrate people, is such a unique experiment. I'm glad somebody printed it. And I honestly haven't heard hardly anyone talk about this game, which is unfortunate because it is that interesting and unique. It would be one of my nominations for most innovative game of last year. Just it's such a phenomenally cool idea, and it works too. It's just that some people are a lot of people are gonna be frustrated because their opponent's gonna be able to think faster, move those timers faster. And even though you have 4 timers, to be able to do that, it's gonna be hard to beat somebody like that. And for that reason, there'll be sometimes not so much a back and forth, but they beat me. And once they've beat me and I'm down to 1 unit, it gets more difficult because I have to leave a timer on that unit, and that's problematic. So an amazingly interesting idea that works for a lot of people. It's just not for everyone, or even most everyone. Dice Tower judgment approved for some people.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.